Hello. It's been a while since I've done an upload on YouTube. I've been busy and not very well, so I'm just trying to get back into it. Let's see if I can do a few more of these as we go through the winter. Today's upload, whilst my student's on test, you can see him up the road, look. Today's upload is, why do I keep hitting neutral when I'm slowing down to stop? This is a really easy one. When you're slowing down to stop, if you keep hitting neutral, it's because you're not tapping more than once for first gear. So as I'm slowing down now, I'm in second gear at 15 miles an hour. If I were to stop, I wouldn't be putting it into first until I was under 10 miles an hour. But when I do put it into first, I'm not just going to tap once for first gear. I'm going to tap more than once for first gear. So there we go, first gear. Didn't actually need to stop, but I also didn't need to look down and look at my gear indicator. Because when you tap more than once for first gear, you can feel that there are no gears left in the gearbox with your foot. So if you keep tapping with your foot whilst the clutch is in and you're selecting first gear, tap 2 times or 3 times until there's no gears left in that gearbox. To achieve that though, you can't be going too fast as you're stopping. So a lot of people brake late and they don't leave themselves a slow end to the stop. So if you look at my how to brake smoothly or how to stop smoothly upload, you'll see me demonstrating a slow end to the stop. So check your mirrors, start your braking with your front brake, little bit of rear, but keep squeezing that front brake to take the speed off. It's mostly front. Okay, now I've left myself 10 meters to go slowly. Third gear, second gear, first gear again, leg out and land, not too close to the car. I had to go to the left of the arrow there because the arrows they've been painted over so many times they make the bike wander and weave. So through better planning on the approach to your stop, better braking and a slower end to the stop, you'll be able to get down to first gear and not sit there in neutral and then try to pull away in neutral because you haven't noticed whilst you've been sitting at the traffic lights or at the junction. So both brakes, mostly front, scrub all the speed away. Clutch can come in at about 20-15 miles an hour. Second gear, probably don't need first gear because I'm not stopping actually, so just revs against the clutch. I would have, after I'd said second gear, I would have gone first gear, leg out and land. So both brakes, clutch in now, second gear, first gear, leg out, land. Just mirrors because I've only very briefly stopped and put my foot down. So it's only shoulders if your foot's down for a long period of time and somebody's got the opportunity to get into your blind spot. So if you can plan your slowing down and your braking better and leave yourself a slower end to the stop, you've got time to press down for first gear more than once. If the end of your stop is quick, 1, you're going to be finishing on the front brake and it'll be a boingy front brakey stop, which isn't as smooth and controlled as if you finished on the rear. And 2, you're not going to have enough time to come down through your gears and to be sure that you haven't hit neutral as you come into that stop. And sometimes you haven't got time to look down to check your gear indicator. Like at a roundabout, for example, you'll see the opportunity to go. But if you've seen the opportunity to go and you're sitting there in neutral, you're then going to have to faff with your gears before you can actually go. And that's no use. Especially if you hold the traffic back on your test whilst you're doing it. If you hold any traffic back, you could fail your test. If there's nobody behind you, you'll get a fault on your test. Both brakes, scrub the speed away, leave a slow end to the stop. First gear, and then leg out and land, not too close to the car. I usually recommend 10 meters of slow riding at the end of your stop. That's the maximum distance you should really be going slowly as you approach a junction, so you don't annoy the cars behind you. If you did it for 25 meters, I'd be worried because the car behind you would start tailgating or go for a silly overtake on the approach. But 10 meters is enough time. It's enough time to come down from 5th or 6th gear if you've forgotten about your gears at that point, and still tap more than once for first gear. So go out and practice. If you've got a bike to practice on, Practice taking your speed down and then leaving yourself 10 metres at the end of the stop to go slowly, and in the last 3 metres, first gear, left leg out nice and early, and then you can time your landing. Very, very common for students to stop in neutral and then have to shuffle their feet around to sort the gears out. So plan ahead more. Work out how to prevent yourself from hitting neutral. So red light ahead. It's been red quite a while. It might change by the time I get there. So mirrors, both brakes, squeeze to take the speed off. Rear brake, fingers are away. Don't know what gear I'm in because I'm not looking down, but first gear, there we go. There's no more gears left. Leg out and land, and that's nice and smooth on the rear brake. No more front brake because we're lovely and smooth and slow with it. Another time that you'll be hitting neutral is when you're going from first to second as you're moving off. Now this commonly happens because people don't follow through with their foot on the gear lever. You've got to tell yourself when you're going from first to second that you need to get through neutral and up into second gear. So as you change up through neutral, tell yourself neutral, second with your foot. Doing it with my head, neutral, second. Okay, so imagine where neutral is. Even if you can't feel it, some of the bikes you can feel a little notch, but not all bikes. But if you can't feel it, tell yourself you've got to get up through that gap where neutral is and into second gear. And don't stop pushing with your foot until it actually lands in second gear. So both brakes, squeeze, 10 metres now to go slowly on the rear. Down to first, first, leg out and land. I am behind the line, by the way, when I'm stopping here. I had somebody comment on my YouTube channel. Why are you stopping with your front wheel over the line? I'm not. It's the camera angle. As an instructor, we wouldn't be stopping over the white line. It makes you wonder with these people sometimes. Right, I'm going to turn right. So mirrors, signal, lifesaver position, bring the speed down, scrub it all away, slowly. Only need second gear because I'm not stopping. Lifesaver, look up the road and turn. I was using the clutch to hold my line there. Really bad surface there, so just choosing a slightly different line to the one I normally would. Again, still equalising the danger between the two rows of parked cars. Let me well over to the left for this car coming through. Time this, so maybe I don't need to stop, but I'm still doing double taps for first gear. I know I'm in first now. There's no gears left. Lifesaver, equalise the danger. Something else that can help you when you're changing up through the gears, so up from first to second, is to preload your gear change. This is quite technical and it's not often done by learners. It's usually done in post-test training. But preloading, I'm just going to wait to get into position properly here because he's coming wide. So preloading is where whilst you accelerate, and only whilst you're accelerating and opening that throttle, you push against the gear lever with your foot. And if you push against the gear lever with your foot whilst you're accelerating, when you then change gear, it's very easy for it to slip into the gear and not hit neutral. If I stop on the left and we'll do a pull away, second gear, first gear again, leg out and land. When you stop on the side of the road, cancel your indicator. And then when you're ready to move off, check your mirrors, indicator, lifesaver, go. So whilst I accelerate, opening the throttle, opening, I'm pushing against the gear lever. Now second gear, it's so much easier not to hit neutral if you push against the gear lever whilst you're accelerating. So whilst I'm in first gear, I'm going to be pushing against the gear lever up only while I'm accelerating. So mirrors, signal, lifesaver, go. Whilst I'm accelerating, push against the gear lever, second gear. So easy. Okay. If you don't preload your gear change, you're more likely to hit neutral, but that doesn't mean that you will always hit neutral. It just means that preloading will prevent you from hitting it usually. You don't have to preload, it just helps. So when you get a little bit more advanced and a bit more confident with these things, try it, but only while you accelerate. If you're not opening the throttle, the bike will change gear and it'll lunge. So don't push against your gear lever unless you're accelerating and you're actually knowing what you're up to, you know what you're doing. Don't just randomly push against the gear lever because it will change gear without the clutch. That's not smooth. or particularly safe or good for the gearbox. Well, I'd forgotten how much I enjoy doing these videos. I'm sorry I've had a bit of time off. Sometimes life gets in the way a little bit. If you do hit neutral as you're moving off, you need to be really careful with the clutch when you then reintroduce it, when you find second or first gear, depending on which one you go to, whether you're going up or back down again, depending on whether you've lost any speed. So it's quite common for when people have hit neutral. I can see a car coming in the reflections, look. If you look for the reflections, you can see, I can't see up the road, but I can see reflections in those windows opposite. Comes another one. Can't see any more after the white one. Make sure you look left before you actually turn. Is the road clear? We are good. Clutch in and lean. Didn't need to indicate there because it was a compulsory left. So as I was saying, it's very common when people hit neutral when they're going up through the gears to then dump the clutch out. You need to be really careful that as you then reintroduce your clutch, having found your gear, that you don't launch the clutch out. You don't send yourself flying into the future. So we need to be nice and positive when we're going for the gear lever to find second gear after first. Tell yourself you need to get up through neutral and into second. So don't flick your gear lever with your foot. You can also preload your higher gear changes. So as you accelerate, push against the gear lever and then it's throttle off, clutch in, and it'll gear up really easily because you're already pushing against that gear lever. It makes the gear changes smoother, but it's particularly helpful for your first to second gear to help you not to hit neutral. You've got two methods there. We've got the let's slow down nice and early and plan coming down to first gear so that we don't hit neutral. Planning my slowing down, both brakes, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. 10 metres now to go slow, the clutch is in. First gear again, legs out. And we're going. Leg didn't touch floor then. I love it when that happens. Still the same technique though. And we have two methods for not hitting neutral as you're coming up to second gear from first. So the first method is follow through with your foot, don't nudge it. I'm definitely going up through neutral and into second. And then your other method is, whilst you're in first gear and accelerating, push against the gear lever and then change gear. But only whilst you're accelerating are you going to push against that gear lever, and it'll slip straight into second, bypassing neutral. As always, thanks for watching. I'm sorry it's been such a long break since the last one.